What would happen if there was no ego?
Let's define it. What do you define ego as? So I'll stroke your ego until it's like, nah, now I gotta kill your ego.
I'm in an egoless state. I may not be motivated by the need to survive.
I think the age that we live in has some part to do with the way the ego is functioned. There gotta be some pros to it. Nothing's absolute, in my belief. Do unto others before they do it to you.
I don't feel that the adults in my life are safe to communicate this. A normal response to an abnormal situation is abnormal.
Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side.
So Ellie, here's something that I wanted to get your take on. Ego, the big three-letter word. I feel like ego's been getting like a bad rap recently.
It
for
shouldn't?
sure. I don't think it should. Like every time I hear about ego, it's always ego death. Don't fall victim to your ego. Get your ego out the way. But my thought and my feelings are, it's like it's part of you, so it can't be all bad. It must be serving a purpose. There must be some sort of pro to it. What's your take on ego? Like, does that land? Is it good for you? Is it all bad? What do you think about the ego and its role?
Can we define it a little bit?
Let's define it. What do you define ego as?
So I think in this case, ego is the... Maybe you don't mean it that way, but the way I hear the word ego is what makes this me, that's you, that's that feeling that I'm separate from you, when I'm separate, disconnected from, right? That what affects me doesn't affect you, what affects you doesn't affect me. That is the ego telling us that. You know, when you say ego as in, people say ego as in like an exaggerated confidence. I don't know if that's what you mean by it. I think you mean more of
exactly.
The spiritual definition of the
right, for sure.
ego.
Like
Ego
a
as
North
separateness.
Star of some sort that seems like it's like often leads us the wrong direction. But I don't know. There got to be some pros to it. Nothing's absolute, in my belief.
So, well, first of all, everything has a pro, right? Everyone wants you to win, right? So
Right.
everything is good. The question is, like when you say a pro, that there's something good. So I guess what I would ask you is, what would happen if there was no ego?
What would happen if there was no ego? So I'm not sure how to answer that. What comes to mind is, on the other side, for example, an ego can definitely help some of us survive, right? Meaning like...
So that could be a good function of the ego, right?
Right.
That's fair. Is you say that if I'm in an egoless state, I may not be motivated
Right.
by the need to survive.
Right.
I've seen that interpretation sometimes as, instead of like in Jewish philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
there's a concept of two souls. One is called the animal soul, and one is called the godly soul. And it's that everyone has these two, an animal soul and a godly soul, kind of at war with each other constantly. Even like the word animal soul is what, like maybe animal soul would be synonymous with the way psychologists now talk about the reptilian brain, which the animal soul is not, animal isn't bad. Animals aren't bad. They're just motivated primarily and only by survival. So I guess, right, you can say that that's a struggle, right? The struggle is between the survival instinct and the altruistic instinct.
Right.
And maybe what you're saying is that balance of that is what's needed.
For sure.
Otherwise, we don't survive.
Right.
Okay, so practically speaking, with this perspective, what do I change? So now ego doesn't get a bad rap then.
Right. So I think again, I think nuance is right. So I think the age that we live in has some part to do with the way the ego is functioned and operates, right? Where the ego gets rewarded for maybe something that's not necessarily righteous, virtuous, or positive,
Such
such as kill or be killed.
okay, so that's taking survival instinct.
Do unto others before they do it to you. Like go get it, or someone else will.
So that would be survival instincts to the extreme.
Right.
So then we know what happens if you have the survival instinct and not the animal instinct. Is you essentially have the animal kingdom.
Right. Or
That's it. Animals aren't good or bad, but
right. They just
kill
are.
or be killed.
Right. But I think to some degree it's lopsided, right? Like it's meaning like our egos get stroked in a way where it's like we celebrate things that are maybe not necessarily adding any value to our lives. And the person that's the tip of the spear for that, or the thing, the person, gets like more, give us more. Like, we love you for that. That's great. I think of the drug of fame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on one side, it's like this thing that we're all encouraged to reach for.
Fame?
Yeah, on many levels. You may not be on everyone's TV screen, but certainly you can be popular on social media. Certainly you can be the guy in the party for those 5 hours, right? It's all a version of fame, right?
You feel like everyone is
meaning
in our culture, in our society, in a twisted way. Okay.
Right. And then
are we looking for fame when we're doing this?
No, I think our intentions are pure. I think our intentions are clear.
Influence, impact.
Right. And then on the flip side of fame, it's like we love it so much, right? And we build it up only to tear it down. Right? So I'll stroke your ego until it's like, now I got to kill your ego.
Right.
Who are you? Look at you. Like you've ascended to the highest. No, come down here. So yeah, that's kind of one of the ways I think about it. But certainly, ego again has its place. It's part of you.
I guess if I taking what you're saying, that the message that a lot of people are giving is kill the ego, get rid of it. It's no good. It's bad. If only we can live without egos. And you're saying, hold your horses.
Right. Let's analyze this. Let's look at this from our perspective.
It's not bad.
Right.
We need, if you have a world dominated simply by a non-ego state, let's call it altruistic.
Right.
Side, no one's going to survive.
Right.
Right. We'll just get incinerated in love.
Right. Too much of anything is
right.
is
We'll forget to eat.
We'll forget to eat. Right.
And if you have just ego,
right,
then now you're taking it's kind of like survival instincts gone awry, right? So fame is important, meaning not as fame. Fame is to influence like flood is to water.
Right. Exactly.
Water is good. Flood is where it gets just, okay, too much of a good thing.
Too much of it. Right.
So naturally our survival instinct is saying, hey, have influence. Right? We need it. Let's say there's only 10 pieces of food and 20 people. Let's make sure that we and our children are taken care of, not.
Right. Where I think ego does get dangerous, and I'd love to hear your take on this, is when it's like a driver of decision making.
That's again where ego is the only one driving the show. So almost what you're talking about is
where it's all ego driving the show. Then,
right. I heard one person say, "We don't want to slay the dragon; we want to tame the dragon."
Yeah.
So we don't want to slay the ego.
We want
to tame the ego.
And to that, I say, fire is a good servant, bad master.
Right. So there's a place for it.
Certainly.
Right. It certainly allows us to interact with it in a much healthier way. I can get behind that. Similar to with an addiction. Gabor Mate, I speak about him a lot, and if I think about the one thing he taught me almost more than anyone else is how to always view your addiction with some level of compassion. Its origins were pure. Being completely calm, being in a normal response to an abnormal situation is abnormal. I think Viktor Frankl said that.
Right.
A normal response to an abnormal situation is abnormal. An example he gave actually was when he was a young therapist. He worked in a facility, a psychiatric ward, and a mother and daughter came in, and the mother was hysterical and the daughter was very calm. So he assumed the mother was the patient and the daughter was not.
Right.
And as he started talking, he realized, no, the daughter is the patient, the mother is not, but we just entered an abnormal situation. Your child was drawn into a psych ward. So, of course, being amped up, that's the normal response. The fact that the daughter was so calm, that's the abnormal situation.
Right.
So Gabor Mate teaches something similar with the origins of addiction, which is this is a survival instinct gone awry. Or one way I've often said it, a friend that's overstayed its welcome. Its origins were often
Right.
for the right reason. It had to survive. Let me put some meat on the bone. Say in my case, as a child, I was in a ton of anxiety, a ton of fear. I have this abuse that I don't want to talk to anyone about. I don't feel that the adults in my life are safe to communicate this with. I don't feel like it'll go well for me or for anyone else. But I have this tremendous pain. And really none of the resources, neither financial nor autonomy nor emotional resources to be able to deal with the pain that I'm in. So my two choices are flight or fright, run or numb. And flight, or freeze, really, right?
Right.
And the truth about between flight, fight, or freeze, how long can you flight? How long can you fright? So you freeze.
Right.
And I didn't have a healthy outlet available to me. So the fact that I had the capacity to numb was an unbelievable gift. That I was able to be in a room and not be there when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Unreal. It saved my life. And fast forward 10 years, now it's destroying me. So what you're saying is the same thing is, hey, this ego is there. It's keeping us alive. Yeah, it's that ego that's driving the ship now. And we gave it control when I was in a dangerous situation at 14 to help me survive. Now I'm 26, 27, 28. The resources and autonomy are there, are available to me to do something about this, but I keep going back to something that once worked, a survival instinct.
Yeah, and I love what you said about a friend overstaying its welcome, because that's exactly it. At some point, it's serving, but if it becomes our master, then it's no good. I just, again, feel like the only messaging that's kind of getting out there right now is that, like, ego in its master state, but let's have
therefore
compassion.
kill it.
Therefore kill it, yeah. But let's have some compassion.
Yeah, don't forget its role.
Right. And the duality of it.
Everything is working in our favor.
Every time.
Everything wants us to win.